Number one mistake is they think this is a big technical thing and I am just a landscaper or I'm just a pest control company. And this other person's an SEO expert and they do websites and they're a social media expert or whatever kind of expert they claim that they're in. And I'm just going to hire this expert to do their thing while I do my thing, which is spraying for ants or mosquitoes or whatever it is, right? Because I'm a
Yeah.
pest control guy. I go around and spray and you go and do your thing, which is the thing that these marketing companies want you to believe. That's a load of BS.
Welcome to the Headsmack Podcast, where we have candid conversations with misfits and mavericks, those not afraid to stand up and stand out, the dreamers and the doers, the ones who've stumbled, fumbled, and then soared. Here we delve into the inspiring journeys and pivotal aha moments that have shaped their worlds. And maybe through sharing their adventures, you'll get hit with a head smack that'll change your destiny. Hey, welcome to the Headsmack Podcast. My name is Povolni. So good to have you along. I'm here with another misfit, Dennis Yu. So glad to have you here, man.
Awesome, Paul. I'm glad to be a misfit.
You definitely are, and we're going to talk about ways that you are as we go along. Dennis is a search engine engineer who built the analytics at Yahoo.
It became Google, but yeah.
A
lot of my people went to Google, yeah.
There you go. And is now educating local service businesses about how to be Googleable. I love that word, Googleable. He has spent billions of dollars on Google and Facebook ads for big companies, and is now equipping young adults to succeed with their local agencies, and is also a best-selling author. Dennis, so glad to have you on. Sorry, I messed up the company name with the Yahoo.
I can't even say your last name.
I know. That's okay. And I love the word Googleable, and so we're going to talk about what that means because in part of our conversation, you had mentioned about Googling yourself. So I want to talk about that definitely. But I also like to start kind of at your origin story. Obviously, you've done a lot of stuff. You've had a lot of experience. So let's start at the beginning, as early on as you want, and tell me a little bit about your origin story. Where did Dennis start?
Well, I was born in Dayton, Ohio, so I'm an American, but I didn't speak English because my parents wanted the kids at school to teach me. So I was made fun of. I was put in the I can't say retarded children class, whatever. But that's what
special
it was called
needs,
back then. Special, I was special in a bad way. And I didn't know how to make friends and I didn't know how to communicate. I was just a total loser. But I vowed that I would learn how to speak English. And I eventually, as you can tell, became a public speaker. I represented California in the National Spelling Bee in 1988 in Washington, D.C.
Nice.
And I became a search engine engineer before the internet was a thing. And I was good at math, and I'd competed in math contests as a child. So that naturally led towards programming and working with large data sets. And that's been my journey as like a math guy, and never thought that would have turned into something that'd be helpful for analyzing data on the internet. And so I built go ahead. I built the internal analytics at Yahoo. And
that's amazing.
Eventually became what you see today with a lot of the engineering at Google. And I want to teach people math in a non-anxiety driven sort of way. I want to teach business owners and young adults and VAs that you can own your own marketing following a few simple rules that are not a secret, that you don't have to pay someone a ton of money for, that basically will kill all these marketing agencies. Don't even realize that they're already dead. There's clear standards to show up on Google.
Nice. Well, I want to talk about those secrets. So how did a math guy get into the back end of the internet and into the early internet? What was that first job? How did you get into something like that?
I had a mentor, and he was the CEO of American Airlines, and he was very well connected with living presidents of the United States or CEOs of these other companies. So I met a lot of these high profile people, had dinner with them, and had no real legitimate reason to meet any of these people. But this one guy took me under his wing and sort of adopted me in some way and mentored me and opened doors for me. And I got all kinds of things that I didn't deserve. But when you're given these opportunities, why wouldn't you step through those doors? Why wouldn't you say, yes, hey, I'm having dinner with George H.W. Bush. Do you want to join me? Or do you want to meet Margaret Thatcher? Or do you want to meet the I'm having lunch with the CEO of Allstate Insurance tomorrow. Allstate Insurance? I mean, that Allstate? Yeah, that multi-billion
Wow.
dollar company. Like, you want to come? Like, I'd love to come. I'm an idiot. I don't know anything, but
Yeah, yeah.
sure. Yeah. All right.
So how'd you connect with such a high profile, highly connected mentor?
This guy, Al Casey, he spoke at Southern Methodist University, where I was an undergrad at the time. And I noticed these people would come in and guest lecture because the university would bring in these important people that would give a speech, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, I just felt motivated to walk down to the stage or whatever after he was done. And there was no one else no one talks to these people for some reason. Either these people just leave right away, but sometimes they hang around for a little bit and like almost nobody wants to come up, which surprises me. Like, you're in a big auditorium
Right.
and your parents are paying a lot of money for this tuition. Why would you just leave? I mean, otherwise just watch YouTube videos if you're not going to engage with the people who come, right? The university brings these people in. So I went down there and for some reason I just wanted to ask him, so running American Airlines, that's like 30,000 employees. How do you even decide what to do? Like, how do you decide what a plane ticket should cost? Because the cost of the plane ticket goes up and down, and we have no idea what doesn't make any sense to me at all. How do you do that? And then you're buying planes from Boeing, or you're dealing with strikes because the flight attendants or pilots, they'll strike, right? And then passengers can't fly. So how do you deal with that's got to be the most wild job, running an airline. How do you even get qualified to do something like that? Right?
Yeah.
And so I guess he thought my questions were intelligent, and he was also doing some other teaching. So he invited me along, and I was a good kind of pupil mentee. And as a good mentee, I did small tasks, right?
Yeah.
And I mentor a lot of young adults now too, and I give them small tasks. So it's not private coaching, but I give them small tasks as an apprentice, and they, they're in a program where I'm giving them basically agencies and making introductions, just like I got mentored.
That's
and I'm
amazing.
Paying this forward the best way I know how, because he's no longer on this planet. And a lot of the stories and experiences that we've had, a lot of the things that he's taught me, the only one who remembers those things are me.
Wow.
And this is before the days of like being on Zoom and everyone was okay. Like today, like, yeah, the video's on. Back then, like, film cost money to take a picture.
Right.
I mean, you had to like intentionally take a picture. You didn't just like take a picture. You didn't take selfies. Are you kidding?
Right.
So I feel guilty because I didn't document
the
times I had. Now I have pieces of paper, but I never recorded a single video with him. Not one.
Wow. Well, and I think, and even like using a little micro cassette recorder to record the audio would have even then been kind of odd. Whereas now we record everything from our lunch to our meetings to our vacation. Like now we document everything.
Back then, cell phones didn't even have cameras on them. Back in the 1989-ish time. 1990. That's a long time ago.
Yeah. So that mentorship came about from, first of all, you being bold enough to walk up to somebody that was out of your league, right? You were just a student. And the second thing was, you asked good questions from the get-go. Many people have these opportunities to get in front of their idols, somebody they look up to, and they're just like googly-eyed, but they don't know what to say or what to do. And you immediately stood out and created this relationship because you had a really legitimately good question. And so he honored that. First of all, you had the boldness to walk up to him. Then you asked a good question. And so that kind of led into this relationship, with you guys, where he became your mentor. Was that a thing that you asked him to become, or he just started inviting you to things?
No, he said to me, Dennis, you have a smile that could sell toothpaste for the toothpaste company. And I think what happens is that when people reach a certain phase in their life, they want to give back.
Yeah.
They start charities, they donate, they do all kinds of things because they know they're in their last third of their life. Because the first third of your life, you're building a career and learning skills and whatever. The second third of your life, you're a manager, a business owner, you're doing deals. And the third phase of your life, you're giving back.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just happened to be very lucky to be at that point. And now I'm turning 50 this year. I can see why people in that stage do that, because I find myself doing that too.
Right. Thinking about legacy.
Yeah.
So
So
what
I
do you
just
think?
happen to be the lucky recipient. So why not? Right.
Yeah. So what do you think is the greatest lesson that you got from him?
That it's not about, I know this is all like aphorisms and stuff that's like obvious to us, but for me, it wasn't.
Yeah.
As a Chinese math study all the time, get good grades kind of person, I thought the answer is just to work harder and learn more and just beat everyone on the exam, right? I was a really good
Yeah.
test taker.
Yeah.
And so that was just the model that I had because I was good at it. And he taught me that it was all about relationships. And now I wish I knew this like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't know the answer to something, I know who to ask
Wow.
and they will know the answer, which I
Yeah.
know sounds ridiculous. And I'm sure everyone else is like, yeah, well, it's obvious, but it wasn't obvious to me.
Right.
And because I'm like a squirrel who's just been hoarding as many nuts as possible because I've read 4,500 books. I would spend 6-7 hours a day at the library, even on the weekends, just reading because I just wanted to have more knowledge than anybody else. And that helped me because if I didn't have that knowledge, I couldn't have built websites, which is what got me started.
Yeah.
So it's not like that was a complete waste. I'm not saying like, oh, well, just because you know people, you don't need to know anything. I'm not saying that. But I wish I knew that I didn't have to rely upon myself as a really hard worker. Because I believe like, well, if you want to make sure it gets done, you need to do it yourself, right?
Yeah.
That helped me in the initial part of my career, but actually hurt me later because I couldn't grow as an entrepreneur.
Wow. Wow. And I think, you said that it seems so obvious, but I think, when it comes to some things in our lives, and that's why I came up with Headsmack. Headsmack is those slap your forehead. Oh my goodness, that's so obvious. That's the missing piece. And that's what I hope to do with, this podcast is, for somebody that has achieved a certain level of success, they've had a very interesting journey and they've had those moments that were transformational and sometimes super obvious, but we need to be reminded of. And we need, somebody will listen to this and they'll be like, oh my goodness, what he just said was the missing piece. Like I've known that all along, but I didn't realize the value of it and the power of it. And so I appreciate you sharing that. And so that, those relationships kind of led you into your first job were you freelancing as a web developer or did you get a job somewhere else as a web developer for that
I did a lot of
time?
freelancing. I've been building websites for 30 something years.
Yeah.
But long story short, I started doing it at American Airlines. And this was before the internet was even a thing. So we put up web pages. You could learn about the airline. You could do a fare quote. You could check how many miles you had. And I parlayed that into Yahoo because I learned how to do public speaking because I had a mentor who did a lot of public speaking.
Yeah.
And so I spoke at conferences because at American Airlines, I was buying software on behalf of American Airlines back as the internet was starting to become a thing. And I would go to Silicon Valley. And I would buy software from Oracle and, Broadvision and Kana and DB2 and all these other guys are trying to sell their database software. And Oracle would say, like, you should buy ours, Oracle Enterprise and all the things that come with it. And I'm like, well, why would I do that when I can just as easily use all these other databases?
Yeah.
Well, our stuff does, fault tolerant mirroring, and we do all, higher load transaction processing, or we have stronger indexing and analytics. And yeah, that's great. But that's your salesperson just trying to get more money from us. Why would I want to switch? Yes, I'm on IBM DB2, which is old as hell. But why would I want to switch to this cool new analytics database that out of Silicon Valley that all the big .coms are using because it's scalable and whatever? Like, I have no reason to do that. That's more work for me.
Yeah.
And besides, I don't even know how Oracle works. So you need to teach me, not sell me. I know you're I know you're making $1 million a year selling Oracle to all these other companies, and you just see me as another paycheck for you, right?
Yeah.
So there's a book, Oracle Essentials by Larry Stachowiak, he wrote the book on how to use Oracle, how to use this database, and he worked at Oracle. So I said, well, why don't you have Larry Stachowiak teach me? And so Larry Stachowiak would fly out and see me in Dallas. And so I
Wow.
learned from the top people in Silicon Valley because everyone wanted to have American Airlines be a client.
Right.
So I would
Right.
use that as leverage. And
Yeah.
I remember like Epiphany, which was a marketing CRM software, which then I think got absorbed by another company. But they said, hey, we'd really love to power American Airlines. And I said, I love what your software does, but I think you just assigned some random person to implement the software for us. I don't want that. I want Donald DeRoe, who implemented it for Amazon.
Wow.
He implemented that software for Amazon. He should come over and implement it for American Airlines. And like, no, we can't do that because Donald's working on Amazon and he only works on, a couple of these other accounts. Because I know you would give me some junior person, right?
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
signed the deal, because the salesperson would give me some junior person. So I said, no, I'm sorry. I have, we're going to build our own CRM or we're going to use someone else's CRM. Why would we use your CRM? Because you're going to give me if your software is so good and if you really care about American Airlines, you're going to give me this guy, Donald DeRoe. And you're going to give me this other guy, Bob Dunphy, because I could tell who the good people were, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, I
Yeah.
want this guy and I want that guy, right? And they did. And they gave me those guys. And we did great. Well, they did awesome work for us. And then I got to be the closing keynote speaker at their conference with 2,000 people in the room. Because
Wow.
it wasn't because I was amazing. It was because here's what American Airlines is doing about the future of internet marketing, integrating all the channels because we're integrating the call center and email and the website. And if you go to the gate and you complain, like all that information is being stored in one place, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I gave these compelling talks because I was American Airlines. So when Kodak wanted a CRM, they would get referred to American Airlines. So who would answer that reference call? Me. And Starwood or Hilton or these big companies, McDonald's or whatnot, they're looking at, hey, we want to implement a CRM. Well, so then the Epiphany, that software, the different reps would say, well, bring in Dennis, right? Bring in American
Yeah.
Airlines to be the reference. Because then the CMO at Kodak would have a conversation with me and say, so, we're, peer to peer, like here's like the challenge we're facing. And I'll say, yes, us as the airline, we're dealing with the same issue. We have this vendor and that system and these people building the website and all this. And here's how we use Epiphany software to tie it all together. And here's how long it took. And here's how much it cost. And here's like the real deal on how we actually use the software. So I was kind of like a secret closer
Wow.
because these CMOs of these huge companies would trust me because I'm a fellow peer. I did it at American Airlines and I was well known because I was speaking at all these conferences. And it wasn't, Paul, because I was a great speaker. It was because I was what was called, and is still called today, a logo speaker. Have you heard of that?
I haven't. Logo. Tell me about it.
So have you ever been to a conference, a big conference, and it'll say, this big company and this big company and this big company are going to be speaking there.
Right.
So you don't even know who the person is from Microsoft or eBay or whoever it is that's speaking at the thing. So I was a logo speaker. And it wasn't because Dennis Yu is a big deal, but it's because American Airlines is talking about the future of marketing and how to do one-to-one personalization and how to do email because we send millions of emails out every week telling people how many miles they have,
Yeah.
And so I was the representative. And so I used that. And so as a logo speaker, I got to speak at lots of conferences because who wouldn't want American Airlines to talk about what they're doing with internet marketing?
Right. Well, and it sounds like even through some of the journey of what you've shared so far is you are asking, once again, back to college, Dennis, where you went and talked to the big speaker and I want to talk to you when I have questions.
Yeah.
Even when you were negotiating with these software companies, it's like, I want to talk to the big person, and so that college Dennis attitude kind of followed you along your career of, why not go for the big thing? Like all these other students that came and were wowed by this speaker, you were the one that went and had the guts to say, I'm going to actually walk up to this person and get even more from them. And so that seems like it followed you through your career. And you asked for the moon. You asked for the big thing, right?
I didn't ask for anything.
Well, you mentioned
I didn't ask for a job. I didn't ask for any of these things. They all were given to me.
Yeah. Well, I was referencing when you asked to talk to the author of the book on Oracle.
Oh, on that. Yeah. Well, then I knew I carried the big stick because I could sign checks up to $250,000. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. And so you've talked about how then now you've started also mentoring people. What are you mentoring them in?
same thing I got mentored in. So last week, one of my mentees, his name is Danny Lee Brandt. If you Google him, a knowledge panel shows up, which is typically for famous people. He's a 20-year-old kid. And he was telling me, he had the same sort of limiting self-belief, misfit thing that I had back then. And he said, Dennis, I'm a nobody. I don't deserve to be on the internet. I shouldn't be podcasting. I don't know anything. I'm not a big deal. I'm just some kid. But I saw that this kid had a lot of talent, and he understood copywriting, and he understood local SEO because he's gone through our training on how to rank on Google, that whole thing. And I said, but Danny, you actually can. Let me interview you on my podcast. And that was a year ago. Last week, he was with me in Seattle, and he was a keynote speaker at DigimarCon in a big room of people. And then 3 or 4 days ago, we were in San Diego, and he also gave a speech on local SEO, and he crushed it.
Wow.
He posted pictures of it on his LinkedIn and Facebook and all that. Who wouldn't be proud to be able to give a keynote speech in front of a room full of executives? And when he was speaking, I felt kind of like a moment of parental pride.
Yeah.
It's like,
really.
you got a kid who scores a goal, and you sort of like win too, vicariously. Like I'm a soccer dad or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I saw him overcome the same thing that I had 30 some years ago, because he, people are scared to like speak on stage, is number one fear, that whole thing. But he spoke on stage. He did a great job. We rehearsed the whole presentation and what exactly the key points were going to be. And people came up to him afterwards saying, that was amazing. Wow, I learned so much. That was worth the whole price of the conference and coming out just to hear your speech on how to do local and what's really changing in SEO. And he quoted stuff from Google. He quoted me. He showed how he was building relationships. It wasn't a sales pitch, but he did show the results that he's been generating, because he chose pest control for his agency, which is a whole weird thing. But we want all these young adults to choose one thing, like choose plumbing or choose carpentry or choose landscaping or choose real estate. Choose a category, a local category, right?
Yeah.
So he chose pest control, and so he's been crushing it in pest control and getting more referrals in pest control. And the public speaking is elevating his brand. And the same thing that happened to me many years ago has been happening to Danny Lee Brandt, and has been happening to so many young adults. Yesterday, this girl, Mia, who's the daughter of a restoration company. So a restoration company, if you had a flood or your house burned down or there's mold, like they come in and they fix things, right? They're also called the remediation company. And her dad, Jeremy, runs a successful remediation company in San Antonio. And Jeremy always wanted to work with his daughter in some way. And the daughter's graduating college in a week. And he didn't want to be doing the remodeling company for the rest of his life, because he just, is tired of it. At some point you get tired, you want to do something else.
Right.
And we got on a call yesterday. And Jeremy introduced another friend of his who runs a remediation company in New Orleans, in Lafayette, Louisiana. And Jeremy also runs a group of 10,000 restoration companies. So he happened to build a group too, because he was successful. When you do well, then you mentor other people in your industry.
Right.
And we were doing an audit on his friend's site who got burned by the last 3 agencies. And one of my young adults, Parker, was the one doing the audit. I just like to sit and watch, and I'll chime in once in a while. I posted it publicly. Everyone could watch the recording. I post hundreds of these. And during it, we realized, you know what, Mia, you've been working on how to do this for your dad's business. Why, going through our training, working with Parker, why don't you do it for this other guy? Why don't you do it for other people that are in Jeremy's network? And she never really thought about that. And then I said to Jeremy's friend, I said, you know what? Jeremy's daughter, she's been doing it for Jeremy, learning how to do digital marketing in our program. Based on the things that are broken with your website and your digital marketing, which we clearly pointed out, you should hire Mia. You should pay her $1,500 a month for 3 months and give her first real client. In fact, Mia, I recommend you start an agency right now. And this is your first client right here
Wow.
based on this audit, because I know you can do it. Because
That's awesome.
instead of like us doing the audit, I said, okay, before I explain what's going on with why you're not showing up in Google, what do you think the reason is? Mia, go ahead and do the diagnosis, right? And she
Yeah.
did. And it was right
Wow.
on. I said, yep, see, you know what's wrong. You know what Google's guidelines are. So Mia, explain to everyone, how is this previous company that was working on this guy's website, how are they violating Google's guidelines, and how do we fix it? And she said, well, it's obvious. You do this, this, and this. Like, yes, that's correct.
That is so cool.
Mia, do you think that you could do this? Yeah, I think I could. Okay. You're graduating in a week. And, you could start an agency doing this, don't you think? Yeah, I think I could. Okay. So what I want you to do is set up the name of your agency, like Mia's Restoration Agency or whatever it is. Go to the bank, go to Bank of America or Chase or whoever, set up your bank account, set up all the stuff to be able to go in business. And then once that you have that stuff ready, then you, restoration company owner, you pay Mia. You go to that link to sign up for their thing, put in your credit card, and you pay. And this will be your first client.
Wow.
And then Jeremy called me afterwards, and he's like, I can't believe like this is such a magical thing, because this thing for my daughter, it all sort of like came together perfectly. And I would like to start referring in all these other restoration companies in our network so that Mia can help them fix all the broken stuff, because they've all been burned by the marketing companies.
Wow. That's
amazing. We recorded it and we published it for anyone to see on the internet.
Oh, wow.
How that went down.
Well, I love your genius around this area, and I do want to spend a lot of time talking about that. We've used the word Googleable. We've used the you said that so many people are making mistakes, and they're making mistakes in this area. So first of all, let's talk about what it means to be Googleable.
Well, Google me. What do you see when you type in Dennis space YU? You see a full knowledge panel pop up.
Yeah.
You see articles and videos and my experience and podcasts and people that I'm with and conferences and Twitters, and like you see all this kind of stuff, right? Books that I've written, all that stuff shows up.
Right.
So all of us as business owners, if I Google the name of your business, what shows up? Do you rank in Google Maps? If you're a plumber in San Antonio and I'm in San Antonio and I search plumber near me, or I search broken pipe, or I search something that would be obvious, clogged toilet, who shows up? If I search your name, if I search your Headsmack podcast, what shows up? So to be Googleable, you have to show up in all the different ways that Google's going to show the results, because they show a mix of things. They'll show a video, they'll show a LinkedIn profile, they'll show maps, they'll show people also ask, they'll show ads, they'll show shopping results, they show news. There's all this stuff they can show, right?
Yeah, right.
So to be Googleable is to show up when people are searching something that is a fit for what you do. But if you don't demonstrate to Google you have those things, then all these other people are going to show up. It's that simple.
Right. Well, and you'd mentioned that, she was able to help, people in the restoration space because others had done things wrong. They didn't understand Google's things. So what are some things that people can start looking at to get more Googleable, that when somebody checks them out, they're right? And the mistakes that they've been making, what are some of the mistakes that they've just like thought, well, I thought this was the way to do it. And it's like, no, it's not even close. What are some of those things?
Number one mistake is they think this is a big technical thing and I'm just a landscaper, or I'm just a pest control company, and this other person's an SEO expert and they do websites and they're a social media expert or whatever kind of expert they claim that they're in. And I'm just going to hire this expert to do their thing while I do my thing, which is spraying for ants or mosquitoes or whatever it is, right? Because I'm a pest control guy. I go around and spray, and you go and do your thing, which is the thing that these marketing companies want you to believe. That's a load of BS. So when you overcome that thing that they want you to believe, then you realize, wait, the key to be Googleable is you actually have to have proof that you do the thing that you say you do. So this guy, an hour and a half ago, Tommy Lynch, his son, Mario Lynch, started a pavement striping company. So you know how like there's lines in the parking lot?
Yeah.
where it says like visitors park here or make a right turn here or what, like
Right.
lines, colored
Yeah.
lines in the parking lot. So his son Mario started a company just doing this pavement striping thing. And
Wow.
he's starting to generate more business because he's done it for like the Chick-fil-A, for the mall. I mean, because someone's got to paint those lines,
Right.
right?
Right.
I mean, I
You
don't
don't
know
even
anything
think
about painting
about it.
lines,
Yeah.
but he's been posting videos and pictures as, okay, well, today I'm coming over to this store and I'm painting their parking lot, right? And he's showing as he's doing his thing and making the lines. And I don't know anything about paving parking lots, but it looks good to me. Like here's
Right.
before where it's like all old and faded. And then like here's the new one and all the lines are nice and clean and like, it looks
Yeah.
good to me, right?
Yeah.
And because he's showing what he's doing and because he's tying it to his Google My Business, because it's on his website, because he puts it on his social, it drives referrals. Google can see the referrals. Google can see who's clicking on stuff. Google can see that this guy's tweeting about it and putting on Instagram. And so when someone search for pavement striping San Diego or whatever the city is, a suburb name is, they type in the thing that you do plus the city or near me, which is what a local search is,
Right.
then he's starting to show up in the maps. And his name is a difficult one, Mario Lensch, Lensch, I think. But it's starting to work. But Mario doesn't know a thing about SEO. He doesn't know. I'm a search engine engineer. He doesn't know
Yeah.
anything about how search engines operate, but he doesn't need to, because the search
Wow.
engines are merely looking for the evidence that you actually do the thing you do. Now, if you know that that's what Google's looking for, and I'm intentionally avoiding a lot of technical terms, I'm simplifying into normal words, then how is someone who is an SEO expert from Pakistan or some other random place, if they don't know San Diego and the suburbs in San Diego, and if they don't know anything about how do you stripe a parking lot, can they help Mario Lensch with his Radiant Striping Parking, or Radiant Striping? That's the name of his company. Yeah. Will they be able to
Yeah.
help? No, because they don't have experience. They don't know anything about doing parking lots. They don't know anything about San Diego, right? Like
Right.
maybe because it's near the beach, the salt water is more likely to corrode the parking, or the asphalt's different, or there's different rules that the city has, or like, you got to be there. So the
Right.
person best equipped to help you rank in Google is yourself, because you have the acumen in the thing that you do, and you know the local businesses in San Diego. So yesterday, when we were talking with Mia and this other dude who has the restoration company in Lafayette, Louisiana. Paul, do you know anything about Lafayette, Louisiana? Do you know what the neighboring towns are?
I have no idea. I've driven through it, but I have no
Do you know that there's a
idea.
crawfish boil in Lafayette, Louisiana this weekend? And it's being sponsored by this restoration company. And at this crawfish boil contest on who has the best jambalaya and whatnot, do you understand like what makes a good jambalaya?
I have no idea.
I don't either. So can we really help that client establish authenticity in Lafayette, Louisiana?
No.
No. Who can do a better job? And this is the question I asked at the end that had everyone basically laughing. Because after an hour of having this discussion, I then asked this guy who owns a restoration company in Lafayette, Louisiana, I said, so who do you think can do a better job in helping your SEO so you rank better in Google? Mia, who is about to graduate college, whose daddy owns a restoration company, or Dennis, who is a search engine engineer? Who's going to help you rank better in search? The search engine engineer or Mia? Who can do a better job? And he said,
most people would assume you, right?
he said, well, yeah, I know it's like I would think that you would be the guy, but clearly the reason you're asking the question is because you believe that Mia could do a better job. And I said, that's correct. Do you know why? Why do you think this 20-year-old can do a better job than arguably one of the most well-known people in the world of SEO? Well, because she knows about restoration. She knows about fire, flood, mold damage. What happens to when the company has to come in and take pictures and submit claims to the insurance company. So Paul, if you and I started a restoration company today, Paul and Dennis's restoration company, and we were magically able to get a lead, and somebody's house was burned down, okay, for some reason. And you and I were there taking pictures of the fire and all the damage, and then we have to submit it to the insurance company. How likely would our claim get disapproved? How likely would we get the full amount of the claim, right? Because
Right.
we would have
Yeah.
missed a
Yeah.
detail. Like we wouldn't have filled out
Right.
everything properly. We don't know
Right.
how to fill out the claims to the insurance company. The insurance company's going to deny us, right, Paul?
Yeah. Though in my case, the photos will look really nice, but that's not, that's not what it's all about.
But the insurance company, for good reason, it's not that they're evil. For good reason, they want to see certain kinds of
Right.
documentation from
Right.
certain angles, and what kind of carpet was there, and what kind of wood was used in the, like, what kind of foundation was, like, there's all this stuff you have to document, and you
Yeah.
and I don't know how to do it.
Right. Right.
But Mia does, because her daddy runs a business that does that. And she's been around these businesses. She knows. I mean, she's not a restoration company herself, but she's been around restoration companies. And she's chosen restoration companies to be her niche. So she knows all about restoration companies.
Right.
And if you
Right.
know all about it, then you can create the content that Google deems is authentic, because the users, other restoration companies, see it as legit. If you and I, Paul, and let's say you have a $60,000 red camera and you know how to take pictures, do you think that we would be able to take pictures and make videos enough that would fool someone who is an owner of a restoration company?
No, not at all.
No. So
Yeah.
it's not trying to fool Google. That's what people miss about SEO. It's demonstrating enough expertise that it would pass the test of someone who does it for a living in that field.
Wow. Well, I think there's somebody sitting there right now that have listened to this podcast so far, and they're probably seeing stars swirling around their head from the head smacks they've just received regarding SEO and Google. When it's basically you're creating evidence of, you do, like you said, you do what you do where you do it, and putting that online. But that takes a lot of time to create that content. Does
it?
I don't know.
There's no creating of content. This is what people miss, Paul.
Okay.
It's not creating content. It's not like, oh, it's Valentine's Day, now we got to create some content around love your mom. No, it's documenting what you do. It's having the people
I love that. Yeah.
do the work. Like Danny does pest control company. Danny Liebrandt does pest control. So any of these pest control companies, they have technicians that are going around and spraying around the yard and spraying in the garage and spraying for this and ants and cockroaches and all that, right? So as these technicians are spraying, they're like, oh, here's a cockroach. Well, is it a European cockroach or is it the whatever kind of Asian cockroach? Because there's different kinds of cockroaches and you have to treat them differently depending on like what kind of cockroach it is, right?
Yeah.
And so these technicians are gathering these things as they're going about their job. It's not on the business owner to have to do that.
Yeah.
It's encouraging the employees and the staff to document what they're doing along the way, stick it in a central folder, Google Drive, Dropbox, and then Mia or Danny or the virtual assistant can pull from that folder and put that stuff onto the website, can put that on social media, can edit that video and turn it into a compilation of, here's like 15 kinds of cockroaches that we've seen.
Right.
Because because from the folder, from that shared central folder of real experiences, you can create all kinds of content, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that we're just like generating on a theory. Oh, let me use ChatGPT to write an article about the 10 kinds of cockroaches. It's not based on real experience. That's just ChatGPT making up stuff.
Yeah.
Google's looking for your real experience. So you start from the ingredients of the real experience, which requires your operations and the people. If you're a real estate company and you've got 15 real estate agents that are going around and showing homes to people, because that's what they do, right? Oh, let's look at this house. Let's go drive to that house. And we're documenting along the way, like, oh, we're in Denver. And my buddy Justin Martin, was the number one real estate agent in Colorado, sold more homes than anybody. And he's like, okay, we're in Lodo now. And this is only, 3 miles from downtown, and the new stadium's going up. There's a lot of traffic on I-15. Here's a new shopping mall that's going up. And this is the best school to be at. Oh, as we drive around, notice here on this side, there's this part of the neighborhood and this is going on. And it's based on real experience as he's going around.
Yeah.
Like he's showing someone a house.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, what do you think about this house and that house? Well, I like this house because it's closer to Whole Foods, but it's more expensive. And this other house, we have more of a backyard, but it's also like closer to my wife's work. And so he's going around showing, as a real estate agent in Denver, Colorado, he's showing different parts of the town. Now, I don't know Denver, Colorado. I don't know the
Right.
different neighborhoods and what's going on. And this is the best Italian restaurant. And I don't know those things. He does.
Wow. That is so good. So it's documenting. It's not necessarily saying, like you said, here's a Easter post, a Mother's Day post, a Father's Day. It's documenting you doing the thing that you say you do in the area you do it. And it all comes back down to that.
So when Paul, can a third party do that? Can I do that on behalf of Justin Martin?
To a point,
for his real estate and mortgage company?
To a point, but probably not as effectively.
Can I? I don't live in Denver.
Oh, you can do some research, right?
Is that going to come off as authentic?
Probably.
Can Google see through that? Can Google tell? Who's going to do a better job? Justin Martin, the guy who goes around and sells homes and does mortgages, or the search engine engineer?
Well, Justin, obviously. So what about for the search results where, SEO companies are charging thousands, they want to get you ranked on Google.
Sure.
And then there are people that also game the system that, you want to search for the top 10 microphones, and then like these things pop up, these affiliate pages.
All the spammy stuff, sure.
Yeah.
So a lot of them have been killed. Google has killed 44% of that spam in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because of what they call the March Core Update, which is honoring their principle of EEAT. This principle has been around forever.
Yeah.
But Google hasn't enforced it until recently. So you're right. People have been able to get away with all this trickery. It's not like Google wasn't aware of it. Google's known about it for years. I have a lot of friends who are at Google because I hired a lot of these people at Yahoo that went to Google.
Yeah.
And so like, I've been getting away with this for years, generating basically what's called scaled content, which is what Google calls it, which is like multiplying location service pages and creating garbage.
Yeah.
Even with AI tools. I see a lot of marketing people and SEO people are generating garbage without realizing they're actually spammers because they're not including real experience. So Google standards of EEAT is experience, expertise, authority, trust. So every one of those web pages has to be sprinkled with real experience, not stock art photos, real pictures of your technicians spraying for ants, real videos, real stories, real reviews, real trust marks, real, anecdotes of you and the mayor of that town, or here's your favorite park where you like to go hang out on Sunday, and here's the church you go to, and here's a technician who just celebrated their 3rd year with the company, and so just had a kid, and there's all these things that show real experience, which only you as the business owner can show. Only your people doing the work can do and show.
So you kind of shared just super briefly the EEAT. Can you talk about that just for a minute of what exactly that is for the person that is going to look at, okay, I want to change. I'm just, based on this conversation of what I just heard Dennis say, I am changing my entire strategy. But what does that mean? What does EEAT mean?
So Google, which I empathize with because I've been doing this for longer than they've been around, they're trying to give out clear guidelines on what to do and what not to do. They're basically saying, if you're hiring someone to try to trick us, and if they're like creating best chiropractor in Longmont, Colorado, like that's obviously meant for the search engine. It's an H1. It's repeated over and over again.
Right.
If you're looking for the best chiropractor in Longmont, Colorado, and if you're looking for a chiropractor near me, if you're suffering from back pain and spinal exam, and like clearly that's keyword stuffing. Okay.
Right.
So Google is trying to show in their search quality rater guidelines, a 170-page document they release every year. They're trying to show, don't do this. And yet these SEO experts still pretend like, what do you mean? Google's guidelines are not clear. Are you kidding me? It's so clear. They took 170 pages to explain example after example. Here's how you do it. Here's how you don't do it. I explained it in one sentence. Show real experience firsthand of what you do in the city that you do it with people in your neighborhood, ideally as video that gets repurposed into articles and whatnot to preserve the original signal that you do what you do authentically. And when that happens, that will show because you get good reviews, because you do good work. People will talk about you. Your people who work for you on LinkedIn will update their resumes and link to your company. There'll be signals on Twitter and Facebook and whatnot that Google can see that will then say, oh, this guy, EcoCare Pest Control in Portland, Oregon, seems to be the number one rated because of their thousands of reviews, and there's a whole history of them doing good work. And so Ken and Linda Vandegeek, who run EcoCare Pest Control, clearly they deserve, and you type in Portland Pest Control, they rank number 1 or number 2 in Google. Is it because this old couple that's nearly 70, is it because they know about SEO? These are old people who say that they don't understand this whole technology thing. Ken and Linda, I love them to death. They're amazing people. And they have made sure their technicians do good work. Yeah. Their vans have the latest equipment. You see their vans drive around town with their logo, which is purple and green. And they've developed a really good reputation. Yeah. And their people show up on time, they're clean, they charge a fair price, they just do good work, okay? And that is why they rank on Portland Pest Control.
Yeah. So it's not like you said, and what happens for a lot of people that are told about SEO and paying for somebody to do SEO, of creating a chiropractor in Longmont, chiropractor in Fort Collins, chiropractor in Loveland, chiropractor in Boulder. It's creating these pages that are unlinked, but they're on your website. That's what Google is now flagging and saying, no. You're trying to game the system by creating 50
sites
pages.
Are being penalized. And now all these business owners have been crying the last couple of weeks. And all these people that are SEO, that self-declare themselves as SEO experts. That's why I would never say I'm an SEO expert. Because if you do, you're painting a target on your back, because you're saying, my job is specifically to try to trick Google. My job is like, that's your job. That's what you're being paid for, is to try to rank number 1 in your town for the thing that you do. Yeah. I would never do that, because what I want to do is show people who do good work in the city they do it. Yeah. So this guy, Chris Cathy, runs a pool building company in Louisville, Colorado. So if you type in custom pools, Louisville, Colorado, maybe you'll see some of his ads. Maybe you'll see him rank in the map results, because there's example after example of luxury pools that he's built for mansions in Louisville, Colorado. Yeah. Now, what we're doing is, because he has all these people, all these clients, and his team has built all these really nice pools all across Louisville, Colorado, and surrounding cities, we've taken that folder. And so he has had to assemble this folder. And then from that folder, one of our agencies, which specializes just in pool builders, puts all that experience onto those web pages, puts it on social media, puts that real experience everywhere else. It has nothing to do with SEO. It's a lot of effort, to your point, to have to go back through your phone and all the phones of all your technicians and gather all that stuff. Right. And then as guys are going out and they're digging a hole because they're going to build a pool, they're remodeling this pool, they're installing a cabana, a gazebo next to the pool. They have this fireplace thing. Now they want a jacuzzi. Now there's this whole other grill and thing next to the pool, and they're taking pictures of it and they're showing it step by step as it's being built. And now here's the final thing, and here's the before, where it's all like dirt, and now it's all nice. And now the technician's saying, the way we did it was because they're, here's like how we had to design it, and they talked about how they're doing it. And that's expertise from a real person doing it on the site. Wow. The roofer, as they're on the roof, they're literally on the roof saying, yeah, there's hail damage. You can see here, based on this shingle here, there's damage because it's this kind of shingle. And so to replace this roof, here's how we're going to do it. It's going to be like this. Right?
Wow. So
real experience. The guy's on the freaking roof of some dude's house talking like, look at the damage here. Now here's how you can tell this roof needs replacement. It's because of this, this, and this. You see here? He's literally showing with his phone. Look, see here. Right?
Man, this is amazing. So this is going to create some very awkward conversations between SEO experts and the people that they're serving. So
the SEO experts, I have 3 or 4 conversations like this every day, just like yesterday. This guy who's an SEO expert in roofing, I said, this guy's selling you, he's charging you $15,000 for this magic website that was generated with ChatGPT in 2 minutes. Right? He even admits it was done with Wix, which is using OpenAI. Don't build your website on Wix. Don't get me started on that. Okay. And clearly, I look at these sites that he's worked on. They're all garbage. They violate Google standards. I read Google's guidelines. I open up the 170-page document that Google publishes every year, the Quality Rater Guidelines, right? And I say, here are the standards in plain English. This is what this other guy is claiming, his magic SEO technical. And so this guy's saying, Dennis doesn't know what he's talking about because he doesn't understand SEO. SEO is way more complicated than he makes it out to be.
Yeah.
Is it? Who has more cred? Let's Google you, random SEO expert. I can't even find you on the internet. You don't even have a LinkedIn SEO expert guy. I can't even find you.
Yeah.
Then Google me.
Yeah.
See who's more reputable. Who can talk more about SEO reputably? The search engine engineer or the other guy who claims to be an expert but hides in the shadows and then claims that Dennis Yu is a scam?
So
look at my results and look at your results. Why don't you tell me? Why don't you look at Google standards? Tell me.
So when you're trying to find help in this, because sometimes the landscaper or the pest control or the roofer, you know, they're busy doing the roofing, the landscaping, the pest control.
Google that person. Google other. Here's something that will piss off a lot of people. So what we train all of our agency owners to do, because I coach a lot of agencies, is I say choose one category. Choose just HVAC companies and just do that. Choose just lawn care, landscaping companies. Choose, like Anthony Hilb runs a landscaping company. And so we know a lot about landscaping companies from that agency that serves landscaping companies. But if I were to try to serve landscaping companies and pest control companies and dentists and chiropractors and real estate agents and roofers and electricians, they're all so different. I mean, there's a lot in common because they want to rank on the maps and local, all that. But if you are an electrician, you should talk to someone who focuses just on electricians.
Yeah.
Because you got to know something about electricians. And like Danny Leibrandt, who's the pest control guy, he chose pest control. Why pest control? For various reasons. Well, he now he's done it for a year. So he's learned a lot about pest control companies. He knows all about it. He's gone out there. He's walked around with the technicians as they spray. He knows how they talk to the folks on the phone. He knows. Did you know that if someone calls in, there's a difference between a possum and a raccoon? And that you can someone who calls in for a possum is worth way more than someone who calls in because of a raccoon. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
It's because the insurance companies will pay more for the possum because the possum has opposable thumbs or fingers, whatever, and the raccoon doesn't.
Wow.
And so the insurance policies treat possums differently. So, but you wouldn't know that unless you spent time with pest control companies. Right.
So the key is finding somebody that specializes in the industry that you're in to help you, as opposed to a generalist who helps everybody. So when
that's
it comes
number
to
one, and number two is look and then talk to that person and say, show me three companies that three other pest control companies, or whatever the thing is, you're a landscaping company. Show me three other companies that you have done this for.
Yeah.
And that will knock out most of them because but it's proprietary. I can't reveal my clients. Like, are you kidding? If the whole point is to make them Googleable, it should be Googleable, right?
Right.
And then number three, if that doesn't knock them out, Google their name and see what shows up.
Wow.
Google my name and see what shows up.
So finding somebody that helps in that area, what would you Google? Specialist? I mean, if SEO is not the thing, what would you Google to find a specialist in your area? If you're trying to find a roofing specialist or what would be the terminology? Because this is really going to help somebody today. I think this is going to blow their mind, first of all, and then they're going to be like laying on the floor. What do I do next? Like, help me,
It's
Dennis.
so obvious once you know what the thing is, right? So what you do is simply this. You just Google for pest control SEO, or go to areyougooglable.com. And we have hundreds of agencies, actually thousands now, that are going through our training.
That's amazing.
And you can inspect exactly what the standards are. You can look at the training yourself to see what the checklists are. You can grade yourself on, do you meet Google standards? You can pay $200 to have a specialist come through and actually audit and analyze your results, because we pay for a lot of tools that help us do this, right?
So for the person, so say I'm in Denver, Colorado. We've kind of been around Colorado.
Okay.
So if I'm in Denver, Colorado, and I'm a specialist in helping roofers in Denver, Colorado,
Right.
what about the
No,
person that says,
you help roofing companies, but they don't have to be in Denver.
well, say
Right.
I
If you're a
am
roofer
though.
in Denver,
Yeah,
that's
if
what
I'm
you're
a
saying?
roofer in Denver and I need
Yeah.
help, and I go to this specialist that does roofing, and then there's
Yeah.
another roofer that's also in Denver, how do you tell them that there's not going to be a conflict where you're not going to be having two
Because not all of them are the
experts?
same. Some do commercial, which is like aluminum roofs, right?
Hmm.
Some specialize in single family. Some specialize in hail damage and working with the insurance companies. Some specialize in roof replacement. Some specialize in a certain kind of tile or shingle. There's there's many different with any category. There's many different angles. And then Denver's a huge market. It's not like there's
Yeah,
only enough room for one roofer in Denver.
right.
And there's many suburbs within Denver.
But if you're working for the same roofers in the same city, how do you
In a big city,
differentiate?
you don't want to take on more than 3 if you're an agency.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I
Just
was
cap it
looking
at 3.
for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I know that sometimes people are concerned about, well, if I hire the same person as the other person in the same industry, I'm
No, that's a
fighting.
conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just bad because then the other guy will say like, "Yeah, well, you're working with these other 2." It's like having 3 wives, right? Don't do that. Yeah.
Dennis, this has been amazing. I mean, so much more that we can unwrap, I'm sure. But how do people get a hold of you? Like, this is really, for some people, this
We're
has
talking
been
about being
amazing.
Googleable. Google me. You'll see my LinkedIn or Twitter
Yeah.
or Facebook. Like, happy to connect, happy to answer questions, happy to refer people to young adults that are in our program because I just love seeing the Mias and Dannys and
Yeah.
Parkers
Yeah.
and Keegans, and I just love seeing these guys thrive.
That's
And I love
amazing.
crushing these marketing companies that are ripping off good local businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I did Google myself. I'm happy with the way I showed up, though it's not as good as it could be, especially the profile that you mentioned. So I need to work
Yeah.
on that and get that
Yeah.
fixed up. But man, this has been amazing.
Let's
Anything
share
else
this
that you
out
want?
here. Let's see what the feedback is. And if people want to
Yeah,
hear more, we can do a part 2.
yeah, absolutely. Because for some
Let's
people,
make this episode Googleable. Let's turn it to a podcast episode that's it's an article. Let's put it on
yeah,
social media. I'll link to it. I'll promote it via our $1 a day technique, and we can help more
yeah,
people. Let's practice what we
yeah.
preach.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think there's so many businesses that could, especially when things are a little tougher. I
Mhm.
think marketing is the first thing that they scale back on, it seems like, which is kind of
Yeah.
counterintuitive. But
Yeah.
what you've shared today, like, it's not, you don't need a huge budget. You have a phone. Like, you have a phone, you have accounts. Just start capturing what you do in the area you're doing it. If you don't have the time, don't have the
Yeah.
capability, you can connect with one of these folks that Dennis is mentoring and get in touch with them, and they can help you with some of that process and getting some of
Yeah.
that stuff done.
Yeah.
But don't feel that you're stuck. Don't feel that you're at a place where you can't. I just don't have the budget. I just don't have the time. There are
Yeah.
ways to do that. And I think what Dennis just shared is incredibly powerful towards that.
Amen. Well, thank you, Paul. And anyone can do it for free. You can go through the training and do
Yeah.
it for free for yourself.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
also have young adults. You can have you have an in-house team, have them go through the standards. It's all
Thank
public.
you so much.
Thank you, Paul. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you for joining us on the Headsmack Podcast. We've shared some candid stories and life-changing ideas. And now it's your time to act. First, take bold action on just one idea and see how your life can radically change. Secondly, whatever platform you're listening to this on, please rate it, share it, and leave a comment. Let us know where this episode impacted you. I appreciate you giving me your time, and don't forget to join us for our next Misfit conversation.